It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Mrs. Pepenheim. Your maiden name was Berman. We're here in your beautiful home in Yerushalayim, but you're originally from Switzerland.
Originally from Switzerland, and I was married. We went to Australia for 10 years.
And where were you born?
I was born in Italy, in Merano. Merano is near the Austrian border.
And in what year were you born?
Now we had a hotel in Italy.
But what year were you born?
What year? 28.
In 1928, sure.
Quite a long time ago.
And your family was Berman.
Yeah.
And where did your family come from?
Actually, they came from Austria, They came from Austria. They were the Bermans. They always went around.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Meran, in St. Moritz. We had a hotel in Meran, and in the winter we always had Sukkot, Pesach. We always stayed in Meran in the hotel, and so in the winter they went up to St. Moritz, but we went to school. We went to school in Meran.
And it was a frum school?
A frum school. It was a Goyish school.
It was
Then there were no such things as Yiddish schools.
Did you have a kehillah? Was there a shul?
There was a kehillah in Meran, and there still is, but they're not frum.
And your family, was it very frum?
Our family was very frum, and the shecht by us. We had shechtim in the hotel, and there was a shecht for the kehillah.
And did a lot of...
They even had a rabbi.
And there was a synagogue?
There was a synagogue, and there was an old people's home. And in Meran, it's really a place where lots of people came for the TB, for they were sick.
So to recuperate, to get better.
Yeah, and to get better. It was a very mild climate in Iran.
And Miss Pepenheim, your family...
And they had a sanatorium.
Wow.
And in the Besakos in Iran, there's lots of young people buried because they died from this.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
How many brothers and sisters? I had we were six children altogether. I had one brother, and all the rest of his twin sisters, and the little one was born in Switzerland. The young one, she was 6 months old when my father died.
Oy. And can I ask, growing up, your home was a very frum home?
We had a shul there in Meran, and there was everything there, shul and the mikveh and the sukkah, and whatever.
And do you remember the visitors that came to the hotel? Were there many...
I still remember the Russian people who came, who fled from Russia, the rich Russian people.
Yidden? Were they...
Yidden, yeah, former Yidden.
Was it mainly Yidden that came to the hotel?
And they stayed there for the whole, for the Jewish, all the time. They cooked there also, they cooked their meals there and whatever. I can still remember that. It was a beautiful hotel, and they had a big sukkah for 60 people. You could built on to the dining room.
And today, does it still exist? Is it still there?
It still exists, but it's they made a hospital from it. Once they made a hospital from it, and then they made offices from it, and they just confiscated it after the during the beginning of the war. I said, this Jewish, my mother tried to sell it. It was, you are not allowed to sell.
And after the war, could they get...
My mother went and she took everything out from the hotel. She took the carpets out and she took the chandeliers out. And we made our own wine.
Gee.
She took barrels with wine. Afterwards we sold them in Switzerland. And preserves, we made our own preserves, fruit and pears and peaches. And,
Were you ever compensated for the hotel? Did they ever pay back? Or?
Very small, very. My mother was alone already. My father died in 45. And my mother was alone and she tried to get compensation. And there was always a change of government. And whenever she was there, the government changed and she got a little bit of money, but not very much.
And let me ask, did your family have two hotels?
And the other hotel was in Switzerland.
And your family owned the hotel?
And we stayed in Switzerland during the war. My father was Italian. And first of all, they would have taken him to the army. And secondly, afterwards, they would have deported all of us.
So do you remember leaving to go to Switzerland?
Yeah, but that was a year before. That was in 38.
And you remember?
I remember when we went there, yeah, of course. I was 10 years old. I mean, I was already a big girl. And we went to at the beginning. We took a flat in St. Moritz, and we had a whole winter. We lived in a flat, seating with everything. So, and then the next winter, we saw that it's not going to finish up so quickly. So we went to the hotel, and there were downstairs there were rooms from the personnel where they usually used to live the personnel, and they adapted them. They put some ovens in, some wood ovens, not in every room, every second room, and we went to live there in the hotel.
And who owned the hotel?
We owned the hotel. My grandfather had started the hotel already. That was more than 100 years ago.
In St. Moritz?
That is, no, he was a sheucher to Baron Rothschild. Wow. My grandfather. And then Baron Rothschild decided they want to make holidays in Switzerland. And they said, okay. He said, my grandmother was a good cook, and he was a sheucher, and they went to St. Moritz, and he bought for him, that was peanuts. He bought a house, and he was and they went there almost every holiday, every summer. They went to St. Moritz. But it was over the mountains. They had to come in the winter. They had to change sledges, and it wasn't so easy to get there.
And was there a Jewish Kehillah in St. Moritz?
We were the only Jews.
Wow.
It were us, and there was a family, Jaluzinski, in Celerina. In Celerina, that's about walking distance, about an hour to walk from St. Moritz to Celerina. It's the next village.
And there
were the only Jews. We were in Celerina. There was a Jaluzinskis, and by us it was. And if there wasn't any season, we didn't have minion. I mean, we only had minion when the season was on, when we had guests.
And the minion was inside the hotel.
In the hotel, yeah.
There wasn't a shul. There wasn't a.
No, there wasn't a shul. There was a hotel. In the hotel, they had an Orna Kodesh, and they had.
And it was a kosher hotel.
Strictly kosher.
So, and can I just? So you're 10 years old, and you.
During the war, the people from abroad didn't come. So, and then it was too expensive to have stuff to cook. My mother went into the kitchen and she cooked. We helped her. We were. My sister was 15. I was 16. That was about it.
And
then my father got sick. He had a heart attack. And then we had to stay alone, and we cooked alone. The hotel started.
And did you have any refugees, any Jewish refugees coming to the hotel?
Yeah, they also came. We hosted them. They came. They needed some rest, and they needed some whatever. They came totally.
And do you remember the refugees coming?
They came, yeah, and they stayed in the hotel, and towards the end of the war we had all the American soldiers also coming, but the refugees always came. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we always made up our minion with refugees.
And they could stay in the hotel?
Because they stayed in the hotel, and they got the food in the hotel and the rooms in the hotel. Like normal guests, nobody knew that they didn't pay.
So your family, Mamish, saved. They helped. They helped.
And they had the rest. They came to the hotel. They came to.
Were there many refugees that came?
There weren't so many. There weren't so many left, but the ones that came from Davos and wherever they came, different places, they sent them up to us.
And were there any children coming as well?
Ralph Weinberg was there all the time. I even typed his books for him.
And who else do you remember coming?
I still remember that there were also Swiss people coming for the season, only for the season. When afterwards we didn't even heat up the hotel because it was too expensive.
And with the refugees, do you remember any other refugees coming? And were there children in the refugees, or mainly adults?
We had 2 children by us. Two children, two little girls. They came over the border and they stayed with us during the whole war.
Do you remember their names?
They were from Flach, I don't know, Inge and Marion.
And your family took them in?
They took them in, and their parents lived in France, so they were hidden in France, and they sent the children over. They stayed by us for the duration of the war. Okay, that was selbstverständlich. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
There were more people that did what your family did.
They came, and all the others came to the hotel for a rest and for.
And Mrs. Pepenheim, did you know what was going on in the rest of Europe during the war?
Nobody knew. We heard about in France they shot people and whatever, but they killed all the Yidden only towards the end of the war. I don't know how they did it.
And can I ask, during the war in the hotel, what did you do during the day?
I know, I went to school. I went to gymnasium. I went to Zurz. There was actually there was a gymnasium of German of all the bondsmen of the big ambassador and whatever. All their sons, they didn't have to go to the army. They sent them to Lyceum Alpinum in Zurz, and they had that sechste Kolonne there and everything. They gave me hell.
Did they knew you were Jewish?
At the beginning they didn't, and then of course I didn't come one Shabbos, and I didn't come the next Shabbos, and they didn't come another Shabbos. So selbstverständlich, they knew I was Jewish, but they were awful. Then they never gave me. I had to, and the teachers were also awful.
Because you were Jewish.
Because I was Jewish, and I had to do all the things, and nobody ever gave me their books and their things to. There's one boy who had Rachmanos on me, and he said, "Listen, Papa, when we are in the dining room and we are eating, and you go on this and this thing, and you can copy out all my notes, and then put them back again, and then I had to stay longer in the Lyceum to copy his notes, and so I knew what was going on, because nobody, all the others didn't.
Wow. And you didn't make friends with other children?
There weren't any other children. There was the girls were just coming to learn and going home again. It wasn't the boys stayed in there, and they ate and they slept and everything there, but the girls always went home.
And where did you stay?
And then Baruch Hashem, I stayed at home.
But with the girls, did you make any friends with the Swiss girls?
I had one very good friend, a Swiss girl. She was a neighbor. She was very good. She was very nice. But otherwise, and then Baruch Hashem, there comes somebody from Italy, also a young Swiss girl, and they decided they also send her to school because she didn't have what to do. So she came with me to school, so I had a bit of reinforcement.
Was she a Yiddish?
She had Yiddish girl, yeah. Otto Lengi. They were fugitives, so they came to Switzerland,
and the teachers they were not sympathetic.
Awful. And then the war ended, and they found out that they had all things from Hitler. They had everything there, whole Hitler use and was everything. And after the war, they called me in. I was a bit afraid also to go. What do they want from me now? And then they came, they want to apologize.
Wow.
And they were so nasty to me, but they had to be because I was Jewish. But then they all had to go. And the headmaster also had to go. And they put in a Swiss, very anständige headmaster, and then the school changed the whole thing over. And then the last 2 years it was okay.
And Ms. Pepen,
when I did my matric, he was already the new headmaster.
And it was better.
He was much very hoch anständig. He said, yeah, sit next. I said, they had a whole chagiga for the Matura, and I said, look, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming. I can't eat there, and you sit next to me. Hello. Okay, that's all. It also went. It also passed.
And can I ask, what did you speak at home?
What did you speak at home? German.
German?
Yeah.
And Yiddish or
No.
or Italian? Did you you spoke a bit of Italian?
Italian. When I was in Italy, we spoke Italian. I wrote to my parents. I wrote letters in Italian, and but that was the school was there. Then we came to Switzerland and we spoke German. I spoke German. Swiss German. That was the slang. Schweizerdeutsch.
And can I ask, do you remember the Rabbonim who came to the hotel?
I think Rav Schachnowitz came, and Rav Weinberg came. They were by my house and the Sada Kiddushin.
Sure.
It was in the middle of the winter, and my mother said, okay, my husband wanted the chuppah to be outside. She said, oh, no way, it's much too cold.
We're going to just show a picture of your parents. So this is a picture of your...
That's my father.
And your father, unfortunately, he passed away in 45. Just...
He was very young. He was.
Did he pass, was the war, had the war finished when he passed away?
42. He was 42.
And when did he pass away? When was he nifta? At the end of the war? Or?
1945.
But at the end of the war?
End of the war. I still remember. He was ill, and then he went to hospital in Luzern, and he was in the hospital for a while, and then they let him go,
and this is a picture of your mother?
This is my picture, yeah, but that's already when she was much older.
And the hotel that you had in St. Moritz, does it still exist?
And now they pulled it all down.
They pulled it down.
Not a few, now half a year ago, they pulled it down.
But till then, it was still, was it still a hotel?
It wasn't a hotel, no. Oh, this show. See that this was a wedding. They did it in the old style.
And was this in the hotel?
Yeah, that was enough. This is my mother.
We're going to just show the... And can I ask, these pictures, this is your father in the mountains?
My father, he loved mountaineering.
And can you tell us who's in the picture over here, Mrs. Pepenheim?
Oh, tell you what?
Who's in the picture?
Which one? Up there.
Yeah.
That's my grandmother. That's my mother. It's my grandmother, my father's mother. That's my auntie, Tante Else. She was actually she was bringing us up, and this is Tante Lotte. That's my grandmother's sister. She wasn't married. She worked in the hotel. She came to her in the hotel. Tante Lotte.
And your relatives, did you have relatives in Switzerland as well?
Where in St. Moritz?
In St. Moritz, or in Switzerland?
Yeah, okay. Not really. Not like you have today.
And your family in Italy, did they also manage to escape?
They were. The one was caught. The one auntie one. They took her to Auschwitz and she never came back again. And the uncle with two sons, I don't know how they escaped. But one of the sons was very ill with tuberculosis.
And your aunt that they couldn't escape, that was taken to
He couldn't
Auschwitz.
escape.
What was her name? Do you recall?
I which year I don't know.
And how was she related?
She was an auntie and the wife of my uncle. Yeah. And they took lots of Eden over from Italy. And sent them all to Germany, to Auschwitz, and lots of the people tried to save themselves and coming over the mountains. This is it was near St. Moritz, I think Bergell. I don't know if you know the topography. And they went over the mountains.
And did your family have a close connection with Recher Sternbuch?
With Recher Sternbuch? Not really, no. No, because they came in from France. And
She was living in Montreux.
Came in from Italy.
But was your family connected? Were they related or?
Related, Sternbuch, my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law was a sister-in-law of Recher Sternbuch. But that was only after I got married.
But had you heard of Recher Sternbuch?
Yeah, you know of Recher Sternbuch, but during the war you didn't. You heard about her, but not so.
And did you ever meet her?
I don't think so. I saw her by Simchas, so.
You did see her by Simchas?
Yeah, but there weren't so many Simchas anyway.
It's true. And Mr. Pepenheim, how did you meet your husband?
It was a funny story. It's my sister-in-law. She was stuck in the Shoah, and they saved a lot of people. And there she met my brother-in-law, and then they decided they're getting married. They went to Switzerland and they got married in Switzerland by her sister, that's Mrs. Sternbuch. And then my husband once came for a visit. He was with a Kindertransport. He was taken to Eretz Yisrael, and he stayed with the Pepenheims. His father died already, and his mother died already a long time ago, and he stayed with the Pepenheims here in Yerushalayim. And then when the war was finished, he wanted to visit his sister, and he decided he's going to visit his sister. And then the other sister, the one who got married, and then later Berger, they went to Australia. Before they went to Australia, she bought him a round ticket. He was a young boy, he loved traveling around. And he got a General abonnement. In Switzerland, you could go with an abonnement for the train, you could go all over the place. So he decided one day he's going up to St. Moritz. Came up one day, and my mother was always very friendly with all the guests who came, and he said, "Oh, hello, how are you? I just come to see St. Moritz. I'm going back again the next train." Okay. So she said, "Why don't you want to go?" We go in the next morning. My daughters, we had a group. We went up to the mountains, a mountain in another place. I said, why don't you join them? See the mountains here, they're beautiful. And you can still go back home in the evening. They're coming back on time. I said, oh, okay. I was furious. I said, why don't you send him? He didn't want some very nice group together. And okay, but he came just the same. And on the way, So I don't know how it happened, but we just happened to be talking together all the time. And when we came back, he decided he's not going home yet. He's still staying. And well, I had to work in the hotel. I was a secretary there. So, and every evening we were sitting there and talking away. I don't know. And the whole week till Friday. And then Friday he had to go home. And then couldn't stay over Shabbos. And that was it. And then afterwards, one of the good friends of my family, Pepenheim, she was young married, and she was also in St. Moritz for the holidays, and he went with them on tours because during the day I had to work in the office. I didn't have time to talk, and so she said once, okay, oh, why don't you make a shidduch? She's going to invite us for supper. We went to her to eat, and then we still, I don't know, somehow or other we walked together still a little bit, and it was very good. And then we came back for my birthday, and we went on the mountain, and we got engaged there.
Oh, wonderful. In what year was this?
Who was it?
This was after the war.
That was after the war, yeah.
In what year?
In what year? It was 47, 40.
And your husband, where was he born?
Well, he was born in Pressburg.
In Pressburg.
In Bratislava. And he grew up there. And he was the son of the Rosh Hakol.
It's very choshever. You have the Pepenheim family is very choshever family.
Yeah.
We have a picture of from Vienna in 1922. This is the meeting of the Knesset Gedolah of Agudas Yisrael, and here you have Wolf Pepenheim. He's in the picture. This was a very choshever with all the choshever rabbanim.
Mine was a grandfather.
Wow.
They had a few sons, and one of the sons was Rosh Hakol in Pressburg. This was my father-in-law.
And where were you married?
We were in St. Moritz. Rav Weinberg and Rav Schachnovitz gave them a kiddush.
And you lived in St. Moritz after you were married?
After we were married, we lived in St. Moritz because first we thought we could help my mother in the hotel. Then my brother-in-law came back from Australia, and he said, come to Australia, it's a good country, you can build up your life there. And they sent us a permit.
And you went to Australia?
We went to Australia.
And where in Australia?
To Melbourne.
Sure. Because there were many survivors that went to Australia after the war.
Many survivors. They were Hungarian.
Hungarian, yeah.
Yeah. And they had a nice kehillah. And there were people who wanted to build something, to make something. They bought a casting pen, first of all, to have for the Schritte, and they bought the shaykhut they had, and then they bought a roof, and they built a shul, and they built a mikveh, and they built all that. They were very active.
And what did your husband do? What type of work?
My husband was a printer. He learned. Today it's not a job anymore.
And we have here such a beautiful picture of your husband. And this is with your daughter, who now Kanenora has...
It's my granddaughter, Elisheva. There's one picture there.
So here's another picture.
Now that's how they did the weddings.
And were you happy in Australia?
Very.
Was it difficult to be separated from your mother and your siblings?
It's a funny thing. It was. My sister-in-law was a marvelous person. This is when we got. This is when we got engaged. Awesome, Karen.
Wow, this is so special. It's just so sad that your father wasn't allowed to be at your chasana.
No.
But your mother must have been very happy. It must have been a very big simcha.
It was hard for her because she was alone with 6 little children. So she was unbelievable.
And did she keep the hotel for many years?
The business was run down. It was just after the war, and I was the oldest, and she had to manage the whole thing alone.
And how long did she keep the hotel?
Oh, she wanted to keep it for my brother, and she kept it all the time. And then my brother my brother was only bar mitzvah when my father died. I was the oldest. I was 16. And my little sister, she never knew her father.
It's so sad. Wow.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was a special person. He was really, really a special person.
And can I just ask, Ms. Pepenheim, after the war, did a lot of Yidden come to St. Moritz? Because today it's a very...
Yeah, afterwards it picked up again, and they came from abroad, and it was a big hotel. At the beginning, my mother helped my brother, and he did it himself.
And do you remember after the war, other Choshva people coming to the hotel?
The American came, and they had all different, they want this and they want that and whatever. And in the wartime, we worked on a shoestring. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly had to buy a new fridge and a new... it was a big thing. Eventually, first season was a bit of a thing, but then it was okay.
And can I ask, and were there many, I think in Grunwald there was another kosher hotel, but were there other kosher hotels in Switzerland? Many other...
Well, Rosa and in Grindelwald and who else was there? There were some more there. Then there was Etania in Davos. That was always there. But that was more for sick people, for lung people.
And when did your family finish with the hotel, or when did they?
They didn't finish. Then they wanted to. My brother was already wanted to retire, and his son wanted to take off the hotel and build a new hotel, and they didn't want to give him permission.
Who didn't want to give the?
They're very anti-Semitic then.
The city.
Very, very anti-Semitic. I didn't want to give him permission, and then he said, okay, he didn't really need it. And so he left it, and then they pulled it all down.
Which is only recently,
Recently, yeah. and they made a new, and my sister just said, I've never seen it. They put a huge block there, very ugly looking thing.
It's so sad because that hotel, how many years was it in existence?
Over 100 years.
It should have been a national monument. It should have been.
But it was not. Okay, look, it wasn't so comfortable anymore. The Americans, they liked it. He put some baths. He put a bathroom in every room. But then the room got very small.
And it always remained a kosher hotel.
Strictly kosher, yeah.
Sure.
The mikveh also there.
And today in St. Moritz, is there a kehillah?
Today, no kehillah, there's no kehillah. They have a minion there.
And are there any kosher hotels today in St. Moritz?
In St. Moritz, no.
Yours was the only kosher hotel.
That was the only. Okay, you can buy kosher food in the super. You can get a few things, and when there was a bakery, my brother used to light up the oven, so you had kosher bread. But now I don't know what's going on.
And here's a picture of this is your husband's mishpacha.
That was in Siget, but
You can see a very kosher family.
yeah.
And Ms. Pepenheim, how many years were you married?
Me, no, we got married in 45, in 47, till 38, 30 odd years.
30 years. And why did you leave Australia?
Because of the children. They didn't want to be stuck there and have our daughter marry somebody in Chutzlaretz. We never see her again, or maybe once in 10 years, but we didn't have so much money that we could afford to come every year. And how could we see each other? And said, she goes in, if we all are in Chutzlaretz. Then my mother said, look, it's not, you don't have to go to Australia anymore. You can make a panos in Switzerland.
And you went back to Switzerland?
And we went back to Switzerland. And at the beginning we wanted to my husband I looked for a job in Basel even as a printer.
And did you ever go back to Italy?
To Australia.
To Italy?
To Italy, I went to visit just to have a look. But it's the hotel, they took the hotel, it's not, the hotel stands. But
And what is it today?
I don't know, like offices or whatever they did. But they confiscated it all. But a Jewish property and was...
And Ms. Pepenheim, can I just ask, when did you come to Eretz Israel?
When did I come to Eretz Israel? After I retired. I was 30 years I worked in Switzerland.
And you happy you came?
Oh yeah. But I worked for 30 years in the catering and then different things.
And where in Switzerland were you working? Where did you
In
live?
Zurich.
Oh, you moved to Zurich.
Yeah. Lived in Zurich, working in Zurich.
So you were very involved with the Kehillah in Zurich.
Yeah, in Zurich you were part of the Kehillah. It's different. It's different than here. Here you're not part of anything.
But we all Am Yisrael, it's all...
Yeah, but it's not, in Zurich you have a roof and you know everybody. You have a
And you were happy in Zurich?
I didn't like it. I can't say that I like it so much, Zurich, but you have a Jewish setup.
So, Ms. Pippen, I want to ask you, if your grandchildren ask you to give a message or advice, what advice do you give? Because you've seen so many.
Stay here and wait for Mashiach. Yeah, but it's the best place to be here.
In Eretz Israel.
So anti-Semitic in Switzerland, you can't imagine.
Do you know the passport that says J on the passport? J for Yidden.
Who did not now?
No, but it was in the time of the Shoah, in time of the. That came from Switzerland. It was the Swiss that said you should put a J. It was their suggestion that the Germans should put a J on the passport. And unfortunately, there were many Yidden that came to Switzerland and they were turned back to France, or they were turned back.
Because they had a J on the passport.
Yeah. Or because they were Jewish.
You know, other one.
But you're very happy to be in Eretz Israel.
Me, Baruch Hashem. I thank God every day to be here.
It's amazing. So I just...
It's the best place to be.
So,
with all the machloikas and with all the what's in it. But doesn't matter.
I just
You
want
know
to...
what, have something to drink.
I just want to thank you. I'm just going to come in to thank you. So, Mrs. Pepenheim, I just must mention, it is such a skut, the greatest honor and a privilege to have you as my patient. Number one, that you're my patient, my dear patient, for many years already. But to be in your home and to hear your story. And I want to mention something very, very, very important, that Alavai, more families would have been like your family, that helped other Yidden. Because in Switzerland, and not only in Switzerland, in many countries, not all families helped other Yidden, but your family did.
That was terrible. He said he has to wait for the joint to give permission.
Yeah.
He needed
I know. It's the many stories.
They could have saved millions of Yidden.
But your family took in and they helped.
They helped.
It's very special mishpacha.
And sometimes then they had Russians there, and they came. It was very interesting once they got stranded somehow or other, whole quotes of Russians. And came in the hotel and they didn't have anything. And they asked the guests, everybody, they had some wardrobe or something to give for them. And in the shortest time they had the most beautiful dresses and the most beautiful things.
It's amazing.
All the guests, everybody donated something of their wardrobe, and then they came and they had a good meal and they had a nice they really had a nice Shabbos by us in the hotel.
Well, it's very special, and I want to thank you. I'm so grateful. You should just have Mazel Bracha at Meivestrim in good health and nachas from your beautiful family.
Thank you so much. Well, that's just some of it. But please have something. Honey.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Pepenheim.
Honey, mach's mal a Teile.